Hi there, I'm Dalton Daughtry, and I'm excited to share with you just some cold calling strategies and tactics that when I got started, I wish somebody had taught me. And so these are things that I've learned over the course of my career through books and through mentors and through courses and just studying the successful people and what's working. And I'm hoping to basically take some of this information, boil it down to just the basics, and then pass it along to you to where you can take what works, take what you like, and use it, take what you don't like, discard it, or try it all, see what's effective, use that, and then really build your own business or salesman or saleswoman self-image to where now you're able to confidently communicate with people what you're doing. And so anyways, let's jump into it. So the first thing is just going to be yourself. I wish somebody had told me this. I try to be this salesman. I try to be this guy that comes out and convinces people or persuades or is a fast talker or the objection handling king or just whatever. I try to be other people. I would watch a video or I'd read a book and then I'd try to be that person. And at the end of the day, the only thing that I found to be truly effective is just when I'm myself. And so I would just encourage you, just embrace who you are when you're calling somebody. Now, there's two types of confidence I see out there. There's a relaxed, natural confidence, and then there's this projected, unreal confidence that I see people tend to lean towards when they don't really have the relaxed confidence, and this comes across as fake. Just know that at the end of the day, I'm going to pick the phone up and I'm going to make a call, and when I put the phone down, no matter how that person responds, I still am me. My identity is not rooted in how somebody's going to respond on the phone. And so relaxed confidence is key, and when I'm relaxed on the phone, even if I'm calling somebody that's just naturally anxious, this person might have had 10 cups of coffee, their car broke down, their company is laying people off, their position's in jeopardy. Now, I call this person might naturally, but based on their scenario, they might just be super anxious or nervous. But if I'm relaxed and I'm confident and I'm here to see if I can help, that person's going to pick that up. And on the other end of the phone, they're going to sense that, and it's going to give them a relaxed confidence, which in turn helps them make decisions. And at the end of the day, we just want somebody when we're cold calling to make a decision, yes or no. So relaxed confidence is key. The third piece, and this is a little bit more practical, right? I like to teach people mindset. I know that I'm the kind of guy that's like, hey, just tell me practically what I can do, and I'm going to go do that, and I'll learn the mindset. So practically, here's one of the biggest pieces of advice I learned. I think I read it in a book a while back, and I just started iterating on it and trying it out, and I just saw phenomenal results. And this applies to cold calling, but I actually use this in emails, and I've made upon thousands of cold calls, and I've sent, just in the past 18 months, over 120,000 cold emails, and this works. And it's simply this: asking for what I want up front. So I'm going to call somebody up. Hey, this is Dalton from XYZ Incorporated. Wanted to give you a quick call to see if you'd be available next week for 15 to 20 minutes to chat about this business problem we're solving, or about this that I'm noticing in your company that could use improvement, or whatever, right? So I'm asking for the time up front. If my job's to book some time, then I'm asking for the time. And what I see people do a lot of times is they'll call and they'll get somebody on the phone and they get into a conversation, right? We want to break into a conversation. And once we've got into the conversation, a lot of people, they'll start asking all these qualification questions, and what they're doing is they're creating buyer's resistance on the other end of the phone. And this person all of a sudden is like, hey, I'm getting peppered with questions already. I don't have time for this, not interested, going into a meeting, we don't have the budget, whatever. And so my encouragement for people is to ask up front, because they're going to get one of two results. One is going to be, hey, actually, I could chat about that, and it does seem like a serious thing we're trying to solve. You called at the right time, right? And that's not the typical answer, but it happens. The other result is generally this: it's not a no, because the person doesn't really know what to say no to, so they're not going to just say no. They don't want to miss. People naturally have FOMO. They don't want to miss out on opportunities, and so they're going to ask, hey, what exactly do you do? And this is exactly what we want to hear, because this allows me to go into my story and just share what we're solving. So we get one of two responses, either yes, and we book the meeting, and great, that we're off to a great start, or what's more likely going to happen, the person says, I really don't know what you guys do. Hey, I've never even heard of your company. I'm actually slammed next week. I don't know if I can have time. What are you calling about? We want that person to engage us, because then they just gave us permission to enter the conversation, and that's where we want to be. We want to be in this conversation, right? Because then we can navigate versus trying to beat our way into it with pitches or with hooks or one-liners. And so just simply asking for what you want up front is going to make a world of difference. The fourth thing, and this is a very controversial tactic, some people don't like it, but I found that it's super useful, and that is always acknowledge and always agree. You hear that and you're like, okay, that don't make any sense. Like, always agree? What if the person says, hey, I don't have any time, we don't have any budget, hey, that's actually, we have a solution for that. Agree with them? That don't make any sense. It actually does. And so this is human psychology 101. People don't want to be wrong. People don't argue with their own data. If I'm on the phone with somebody, I've entered the conversation, and now this person says, hey, we've actually got a technology we implemented 8 months ago that has been doing exactly what you're talking about. I don't think it's a good time for us to look at something else. Hey, prospect, I totally get it. I probably couldn't agree with you anymore. It sounds like it's probably a bad time. Well, what did I just do there? Well, I disarmed the person, I agreed with them, and I'm taking bullets out of their gun. I'm not here to prove them something. I'm not here to convince them of anything. I'm here to see if there's a solution that might work in tangent with whatever's happening right now in their current scenario. So, hey, totally get it. It probably sounds like it's not a good time. You say that, what's the prospect going to do? They're going to agree. Exactly. You're exactly right. I appreciate you calling. Well, hey, look, it sounds like you're coming up on your first year mark with your technology. We would be open to potentially doing a competitive analysis, no cost, and just a quick 30 minutes to see, are you getting the most bang for your buck? And look, we're not even going to charge you for it. Would you be available next week for a few minutes on Wednesday afternoon? The fifth piece of advice would be, don't fill the silence. So people tend to naturally not like silence, especially on a cold call, especially on the phone. It just makes them really uncomfortable. And so what I've learned to do is not fill the silence, but actually to feel the silence. And so this means if I ask the customer a question and they respond very shortly, I could use Chris Voss's mirroring technique and just repeat the last three words in a low, slow voice and have them elaborate a little bit. Or I could just sit there in silence and just wait for them to elaborate. And so both techniques work. There's lots more techniques out there, but my encouragement would just be during the phone call, this is more of a mentality thing. Learn to embrace silence. Silence is just a really good thing. So I would learn to embrace it. This is something I didn't do in the beginning at all. I was just the talker, and I would talk, and there would be some silence, and I would fill it in, or I'd re-explain. And what I've learned is that sometimes less is more. And what I'm communicating a lot of times is a lot more than just the words I'm saying. The sixth piece of advice would just be to mirror that person. And I'll talk about energy, mirroring their energy, but this could even be something as simple as mirroring their tonality, mirroring their personality, mirroring what it is that they value, mirroring their accent. And obviously you don't want to go too far into the weeds with any of this, but naturally, if I'm sitting across the table from you and you and we're both about to grab a bite to eat, and we hadn't seen each other in a long time, I'm going to make you more comfortable if I'm mirroring what you're doing. And so imagine this. Imagine the person sits back and crosses their arms. Well, typically that's a sign of that person is a little bit more closed off, or maybe they're a little bit skeptical. What I would do in return would be I would cross my arms. Or if that person leans back, crosses their legs, gets relaxed, I'm going to do the same thing. And people don't even notice this most of the time. In fact, like never. They really rarely notice it. But when I'm mirroring somebody, I'm creating an environment or a space where there's trust, because this person is unconsciously noticing that we're a lot alike. We have similar mannerisms. We talk at a similar cadence. We share similar likes and interests. And this creates trust. And at the end of the day, this is all of sales is a trust game. And so we want the person to trust that we're going to be able to help them, trust that we're going to be able to serve them, trust that they're going to get value from what it is that we have to offer. I was on the phone the other day, and I get off the phone and my wife looks at me and she says, "Hey, did you notice that you got really Southern when you were talking to that guy?" And I said, "No, I didn't even notice that." And she said, "Yeah, you just like all of a sudden, right in the conversation, you got a lot more, your Southern accent came on real strong." And it was because that guy was really Southern and just naturally leaned towards mirroring that. And because of that, there's just a level of trust built, and it's hard to explain it. But imagine you're in another country and you haven't been there before, and you run into an American that's from the same state as you. Well, I mean, on a regular day, if we happen to be in the same state, that's not a big deal at all. But because we're in Italy and I run into this person that's from the same state, all of a sudden me and this person are like, we're besties, we know everything about each other. There's just a level of trust. And that's because there's some similarities, some common ground. And so we can recreate that on a cold call with somebody by mirroring. The seventh piece of advice I would give would just be, at the end of the day, the purpose isn't to sell the product. The purpose of the call is to sell the meeting. And when I'm saying sell the meeting, I'm like, let's just take this down a notch. We're just connectors. I'm just connecting this person with the next step in this process. I'm just connecting them with the right people. I'm just basically trying to provide enough value to where this person understands that the next meeting, that's all they're committing to. They're not committing to a product. They're not committing to a plan or a price. We're just selling the meeting so that this person can basically learn more. The sales process in any business is just a series of steps, and these series of steps, if I'm trying to sell this step over here, well, we're missing pieces of information here, and we don't want to break trust or rapport, and we want to help them get to the next meeting. And so I see a lot of SDRs, people getting started, they're trying to sell the product. They think they have to know all this product knowledge, or they think they have to be able to answer all these questions. Honestly, not being able to answer questions is sometimes the SDR's greatest asset, because the person's going to ask them a question and all they have to do is just say, "Hey, I really don't know a ton about that specific issue, but that's actually the reason I was calling. I was told that you guys might be somebody that could potentially benefit from learning more about how we solve XYZ. And so I was just calling to connect you with somebody that can actually help walk through that and explain that a little bit better. Are you available next week, Tuesday or Wednesday afternoon, past 3?" Something that simple. That person asking that question is now going to allow that SDR to book the meeting. And so with that, these are just some of the basics that I wish I'd learned in the beginning. And these are things that I've kind of picked up along the way. And I hope they're valuable to you. I hope you go out and crush it. The best advice I would give anybody would just be, regardless of the strategies, the tactics, the skills, all those things are important, but there's nothing better than just picking up the phone, making some calls, and learning from experience. And so with that, I've enjoyed it. See ya.